Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai appears before EFCC as DSS files charges against him over alleged phone tapping. Protesters return to National Assembly, demand Senate's approval of real-time electronic transmission of election results. And at least 28 civilians killed in drone attack on crowded markets in central Sudan as army and RSF escalate fighting.
In business, Nigeria's inflation eases to 15.1% in January 2026, following sharp fall in consumer prices.
In sports news tonight, the Super Eagles are set to face World Cup debutants Jordan in next month's international friendly as they remain hopeful for a World Cup slot.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. Thank you again for joining us. Tonight begins in Abuja, where former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has appeared before the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC headquarters. His appearance comes amid growing public reactions and protest over allegations of financial misappropriation during his administration in Kaduna State. News Central's Aishat Salihu reports that while both protesters and supporters gathered at the Commission's headquarters earlier on Monday morning, the group in support of the former governor was dispersed by security operatives with tear gas canisters.
Before heading to the EFCC headquarters, Nasir El-Rufai was seen at his residence alongside close associates and supporters observing prayers. But protesters under the Mega National Movement for Good Governance staged a demonstration at the headquarters of the EFCC in Abuja, calling on the Commission to ensure that the former governor is held accountable and prosecuted over alleged financial misappropriation during his time in office. The group also urged the EFCC to strictly adhere to due process and not allow what they describe as attempts to politicize the investigative process.
The ongoing persecution of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai remain a lawful and unconstitutional matter strictly between him and the government of Kaduna State. This issue must not be reduced to political drama or emotional manipulation. It is a question of accountability and stewardship of public trust.
I can assure you that as far as the EFCC is concerned, the right thing will be done, our processes and procedures will be followed, and Nigerians will see that we have actually acquitted ourselves very well concerning this issue.
In a related development, supporters of the former governor also assembled at the EFCC headquarters in solidarity. However, security operatives on ground dispersed the gathering using tear gas canisters, with journalists facing harassment as authorities moved to clear the area.
They allowed some thugs that were sent by Obasani, the governor of Kaduna State, to come and make nonsense here. They allowed them access, but they deny the people of Nigeria, the masses that sponsor themselves. Each and every 3,000, I said, they sponsor themselves to Abuja.
As of the time of filing this report, the EFCC has not issued any official statement detailing the nature of its engagement with the former governor. Tension, however, remains high around the Commission's headquarters, with security presence significantly reinforced. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Okay, we'll be speaking to my colleague Aisha in a bit, but for now, let's turn to a former Assistant Director at the Department of State Security, Denisa Makre, as well as a legal practitioner, Abba Hikima, to help with the legal and security implications of these charges. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Abba, I'll start with you. Does a public admission of unlawful phone interception automatically trigger criminal liability under Nigerian law?
Yeah, it does. And that could be either judicially or extrajudicially. As in this case, I understand the former governor of Kaduna State extrajudicially admitted or confessed to tapping the phone conversation of the current NSA, before which he even admitted is a wrongful activity. He admitted himself that one needs an order of court to be able to do that, and that the government does not do that, and that the government does not have the exclusivity of doing that, where he now went ahead to say that they also have either been tapping or somebody who taps has told him. So this naturally will crystallize into some criminal offenses. As example, Section 12 of the Cybercrimes Act and Section 27, and of course Section 131 of the Nigerian Communications Act, all have given scenarios that criminalizes what El-Rufai himself admitted as doing. So yes, that extrajudicial statement made by El-Rufai can actually ground a preferment of charge and eventual conviction.
All right, let's quickly dash to my colleague Aisha for further update on the protest earlier today, and then we'll come back to our guest. Aisha, if you can hear me, good evening. Let's begin with the attack on New Central Crew and why that happened.
Say today adds to the number of days and amounting to years where Nigerians are still asking for press freedom in our country, even as the country has been practicing democracy for years. I mean, today we were outside doing our due diligence outside the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and earlier we saw a group of protesters. I mean, some were pro the former governor and others were against the former governor of Kaduna State. And whilst the ones that were against the former governor of Kaduna State, whilst they had done their protests peacefully without the EFCC officials, asking them to leave. As a matter of fact, the spokesperson for the EFCC spoke shortly after the protesters gathered in front of the headquarters, saying that the former governor must answer questions and he must, be prosecuted. And shortly after, the former governor of Kaduna State moved right into the headquarters of the EFCC, in his convoy. But then his supporters, as you can see on the screen, also accompanied him. But upon trying to gain access into the premises of the EFCC, they were restricted. Even as they decided to still stay in front of the headquarters, they were soon dispersed by the security operatives attached to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So they dispersed them. They didn't just tell them to leave. They deployed tear gas canisters, as you can see right on the screen. And even we, the press, myself and the camera operator, were actually harassed. Equipment were seized, I would say snatched from our hands right well, we're about going live, to give details of what was going on our camera and a tripod and also the live view. But later on, after some calls were made, they returned the equipment to us without any sufficient or reasonable explanation as to why they snatched these equipment from us. The only thing they said was they thought we were part of the protesters and we're not press. We mentioned that we were press people. I mean, we showed our ID cards, we had our uniform on and everything, but that happened. And as soon as we moved right from the front of the headquarters of the EFCC, we moved towards the main entrance into the headquarters. You can see by the main road there. Another level of harassment erupted. I mean, just because we're trying to go live
quickly, in the interest of time, we have two other guests standing by. Could you confirm in 30 seconds if that interview with the former governor went true? Was he released or held?
Well, at the time we were there, he had not been released. He was still within the premises of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He had not been released at the time we were there.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for the coverage, and I'm glad you're okay. All right, before we go back to our guests, we will add this story because it's important and at the heart of the conversation as well, in continuation of the process. The Department of State Services, DSS, has filed a 3-count charge against Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State, for allegedly intercepting the telephone conversation of Nuhu Ribadu, the country's national security advisor. The charge was filed by the DSS Council on Monday at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The secret police said the alleged offense contravened the Cybercrimes Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act 2024 and the Nigerian Communications Act 2003. Last Thursday, there was mild drama at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, when security operatives attempted to arrest El-Rufai as he returned to the country from Cairo, the capital of Egypt. The ex-minister had said the DSS operatives who met him at the Abuja airport did not present any letter of invitation. Let's go back to our guest. This time we bring in Dennis Amakre. He was a former assistant director at the Department of State Security. From a national security point of view, how grave is the alleged interception of national security advisors Nuhu Ribadu's communication system?
Anyway, thank you very much for having me. You see, these are the problems. I feel really sad that El-Rufai, somebody who has been in government, a minister before, a governor before, you know, for whatever reason, is trying to, you know, play this nasty game. And in playing it is not clever by half, whereby he's shooting himself on the foot. You know, number one, he came out by himself to say that he tapped the phone of the NSA. I know that was a lie because it's totally lie. He cannot do that. You know, even WhatsApp is end-to-end encryption. And of course, there are special equipment that you need to tap into that. You know, I don't think he has it. If he has it, how can he, after, tapping that information, go back and come out to television?
Yeah, so I think I tried to watch that interview, and I think at some point he did say that it was someone who did it that gave them the information, that the government always taps people's phones, so they have ways of doing that. He did not specifically said he tapped the line, except I'm wrong.
Okay, maybe somebody tapped it and then did that. He has the responsibility now to tell the DSS who that person is. Okay,
let's go.
I personally believe.
Okay, let's go to Abba and get that part of the comment you just made about who that person is. Under a section of the Cybercrimes Amendment Act, what in your view constitutes, not your view now, what does the law say about failure to report? Because one of the charges against the former governor was that he failed to report this alleged breach to the relevant authorities.
Now, there's a duty, legally speaking now, there's a duty on every law-abiding Nigerian to make sure that every time he comes across anyone who is violating the law, not just typing the telephone conversation of the National Security Advisor, to report that illegality to the security agents. El-Rufai on a national television admitted initially that we were listening. That was what he said. Before later he was queried by the journalist, and then he said somebody who taps told him. Now, if somebody taps the telephone conversation of the National Security Advisor and then told you, then there's a duty on you as a former governor, just like Mr. Dennis said, and as a former minister, and also as a graduate of law, because the last time I checked, El-Rufai is a graduate of law. There's a duty on him to reveal that piece of information to the relevant authorities. And failure to do that has been criminalized by the law, especially Section 27 of the Cybercrimes Act, clearly says whoever aids or abets or whoever is privy to such a violation generally and fails to report to the appropriate authority has committed a crime and may be punished in the same manner as the actual person who committed the offense. So that second charge, which you are showing right now on the screen, clearly takes care of that. Section 27 has criminalized this, and therefore El-Rufai may be charged. And the fact that he made this extrajudicially, I wouldn't know if you have a question like that, may somehow constitute some sort of, I would say that there will be some need on the part of the prosecution to go extra mile, to corroborate what El-Rufai has said. But I don't want to delve into that. In short, the answer to your question is yes, it is wrong, and he has admitted to it.
Dennis, earlier you said the El-Rufai, who has been a governor and has been in politics, he even reiterated that over and over during the interview, that he has worked in the public service for a while. You expect that he would know better. Would you say this is politics, just politics playing out, or there are graver implications to a former governor who should know better coming out to say things like this?
Okay, since El-Rufai fell out with the present government, he was very, 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 very close. One of the original people that, was working with the present president. I saw him in Chatham House, where he was also even representing the president, the candidate at that time. Now, this is politics. And because he wants to go back into politics, he feels that he's a kind of untouchable. I think that's where he made the mistake. He felt he's some kind of untouchable, and then he has a lot of people behind him by even inviting them to the airport when he was coming to gather around him, making noise over there. He does not know that if he's a lawyer, he should know that that alone is resisting arrest. He's resisting arrest, and that's a crime on its own. Now, and other things that he has been doing. So it's basically politics, because if you look at that letter, he even copied it to the chairman of ADC. Well, I don't see how you are copying a letter about toxic waste to your party leader. So all these are, I think you can read through it, that is politics.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for obliging us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Tonight returns after this break. Stay with us. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai appears before EFCC as DSS files charges against him over alleged phone tapping. Protesters return to National Assembly, demand Senate's approval of real-time electronic transmission of election results. And at least 28 civilians have been killed in drone attack on crowded market in central Sudan as army and RSF escalate fighting. Glad you're still with us. Let's stick with security matters for a little longer. United States has frozen the assets and properties of 8 Nigerians accused of having links with Islamic sect Boko Haram and Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL. The over 3,000-page document released at the weekend by the United States Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control also identified individuals sanctioned for cybercrime-related offenses and other security threats. The pronouncement comes on the heels of the latest U.S. Congress recommendation of visa ban and asset freeze on the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, and different Miyetti Allah groups over alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria. Retired Brigadier General Chris Olukolade is a former Director of Defense Information. He joins me now for this conversation. Thank you for joining in. The United States seems to, some would say, have personalized the war on insurgency in Nigeria, considering the threats before now. What are your concerns that this is more of a flexing of muscles, as is alleged, than actual evidential effect on the fight against insecurity and terrorism?
Well, it's open to a number of interpretations. I mean, this development, and from all indications, this is not the first time that the American government is showing interest in the security situation in Nigeria, especially in relation to the counter-terrorism activities. And you recall that as far back as 2020, the nation was declared a place of particular interest. That was not even the first. Quite often, maybe by activities of Nigerians and others with interest, they've always called the attention of the United States. And so if this time they are showing the degree of interest, I think it's in furtherance of that tendency, which is really not new. It's not new in any way. I recall that it was even difficult tagging the Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization. It was a lot of debate before it was eventually achieved. The same with the tendencies to label Nigeria as violating human rights because of fights against terrorism. So this trend have always shown different expression of interest in the security situation in Nigeria.
On the flip side of the coin, though, there are thoughts about juxtaposing this ban with what we do with those who commit the act of rape. When they are convicted, they are named and they are shamed. Talk to us about the benefits, whatever it may be, of the naming and shaming of this individual and the possible impact it might have on others, perhaps as a deterrent from choosing that path.
You will note that at least one or two of the people on that list have been convicted in the UAE in relation to this crime. And for them to be disidentified shows a further step, which we even wish that our country will get to the point of having the courage to name the sponsors and expose them in this way. Maybe that's what many students are still waiting for, to see a situation where if we go beyond mere rumor of alleging that people are in connection with security problems, and it looks as if it is speculation, but with concrete actions like this, that gives them either out for prosecution or sanctions. It makes it more concrete and more direct than mere speculation that appears to have been the tendency. You will recall that even before now, the previous administration kept threatening to, disclose the list of sponsors, and people have been looking forward to seeing these sponsors.
So what do you say?
Prompt us internally.
Well, what do you say 8 is actually enough? I mean, you just referenced the fact that there's been this threat of naming and shaming. What do you say it's enough, considering what we are going through? And your quick thought, if you can add to it, with this basis being established in Nigeria, also in an effort to fight insecurity?
I'm not sure I can get what you are up to, but let me try and guess.
I can repeat the question, sir.
Please go ahead. Repeat it.
Okay, I'm asking 8 persons in a population of over 200 million, and you say 8 persons have been banned or sanctioned. Considering the history, you mentioned that they've been threatening that they will list these names, and we just have 8. Is it enough? And then I also wanted you to quickly add your thoughts on the establishment of bases besides the American base that is being established here in Nigeria. I understand there's another base from another country that is still going to come in to help in the fight against insurgency and terrorism.
Well, what I got clear here is the establishment of bases. This itself has generated a lot of reaction and understanding, but I think it's an incremental measure related to collaboration between the countries in the fight against terror. This time is terror specific than just defense related. I think it is in furtherance of the global collaboration and interest in curtailing terrorist crimes that is become global in nature. So if we see it in that end, we could see this as a collaboration rather than in disrespect to
the sovereignty of the country. All right, thank you very much, General, for sparing the time to talk to us.
Yes.
We will return with more stories after this break. More protests, but this time from the National Assembly. Protesters returned to the gates to resume the Occupy NAS demonstration, demanding the mandatory electronic transmission of election results. The demonstrators are insisting that the real-time clause be explicitly included in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to ensure transparency in future polls. They maintain that the current version passed by the Senate leaves too much room for manual interference. The atmosphere at the National Assembly complex remains charged as civil society groups and concerned citizens vow to remain until their demands are met.
We stand with the House of Representatives on real-time electronic transmission of the results. Mandatory. Without any condition, no clause. We have done it in the past and we got up to 94% without it being mandatory. The mapping done shows us that 98% of the locality are covered. So this is enough, to counter whichever internet network infrastructure argument put forward by either the Senate or any other entity. This current government, they have every institution at their beck and call. They have more than 30 governors. They have the entire National Assembly, judiciary, police, DSS, civil defense, city girls, city guys, city everything, city thugs, everything they have. Why should anybody be afraid of free and fair election? That is why we have come to say their time is up.
We must correct that narrative whereby the people in power will know that the people that voted them into power are the real people. We want a Nigeria that works for everybody.
We are demanding that the original INEC guideline that the House of Rep had worked on should be implemented. We do not need space for...
Staying at the National Assembly, a coalition of women groups have taken a solidarity walk to the complex in Abuja, demanding for the quick passage of the Special Seats for Women bill that seeks additional seats for women in Parliament. New Central's correspondent Idong Joseph was at the scene and brings us this report.
At the main entrance of the National Assembly, women's group and supporters gathered to press home their demands, which is the speedy passage of the Special Seats Bill, a proposed legislation designed to create additional legislative seats for women at the federal and state levels.
Women's representation is a right. It is not a privilege. We should not be begging for it. We should not be asking for it. It is something that should be given to us.
With only 14 women in the 360 member of the House of Representatives and 4 in the 109-member Senate, Nigeria currently has one of the lowest number of female representation in Africa's parliaments. Advocates say decisions on issues that concern women are being made by men rather than women who understand their challenges.
You know, when we say women's rights are human rights, it's because we know that anything that affects a mother, if a mother has 5 children and anything affects her, if something happens to her and she dies, the 5 children will suffer.
In fact, women, we are more than half of the nation, so we cannot afford to be left aside.
They say that the Special Seats Bill should be given the same consideration as the Electoral Amendments Act bill.
As important as the Electoral Act is, the Special Seats Bill is also that important. We are asking them at this time that the way they raise the Electoral Act bill to decide on it now is the same way they should, as a matter of urgency, bring up the Special Seats Bill.
According to the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, constitutional amendment bills, including the reserved seat proposal, are expected to be voted electronically, allowing public scrutiny on how each lawmaker votes.
In December, we tested the technology to make sure that it was well functional, because we want to make sure that everybody bears his or her father's name. You will know how every member and how every senator has voted.
While 5 bills that seek to promote women's rights were rejected in 2022 by the National Assembly, the women are optimistic that with the support that the Special Seat and other women bills have received, they will scale through before the end of the current Assembly. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Many thanks, Idong. The Senate has approved the proposed 140 billion naira budget of the North Central Development Commission for the 2026 fiscal year, urging the agency to channel resources towards addressing insecurity and boosting agricultural production across the region. Chairman of the Senate Committee overseeing the commission, Titus Zam, gave the directive during the commission's budget defense at the National Assembly, where lawmakers reviewed spending priorities and developed targets. The committee held a closed-door session shortly after proceedings began. However, moments after the session, mild drama unfolded when Natasha Kotu-Dranga raised concerns over the timing of the meeting, saying it was concluded before her arrival.
The Development Commission with a specific mandate to develop the North Central region. And development cannot just be in a vacuum. It has to fill certain sectors of the economy. Example, health, education, agriculture, rural roads, and other public infrastructure. And also other social services that are needed by the people of North Central region. For this commission, you know that North Central is mostly agricultural. And so agriculture must take a pride of place. And it has been so embedded in their budget.
And here in Lagos State, the House of Assembly has approved a concession of 2,000 CNG buses and an outstanding advance payment of 97.92 billion naira to favor Zoom Nigeria Limited for solid waste solution management of the state. News Center's Omolola Ololade has more.
As part of its legislative duties, the Lagos State House of Assembly has approved the concession for the procurement of 2,000 CNG Metroline buses and an outstanding 97.92 billion naira payment in favor of Zoom Nigeria Limited for the solid waste solution and management of Lagos State.
Request for application of the concession for solid waste solution and management in Lagos State awarded to Zoom Nigeria Limited. The second one, request for ratification of the concession for the CNG bus project, the provision of 2,000 CNG high capacity buses to Lagos State by TSL Metroline Limited.
The committee chairman, Honorable Ishao Alabi, presented the report during plenary on Monday, detailing the projections and recommendations made by a 4-man ad hoc committee to strengthen the state transport system while providing solution to Lagos waste problem.
Solid waste solution and management.
Following the presentation of the report and deliberations, the House adopted the committee's report and approved the concession of the CNG buses and the outstanding payment for Zoom Nigeria Limited.
The House will consider taking tenant order of only 7 years issued 5 billion quarterly installment starting from April 20, 2026 to April 30, 2027, covering 24 months advance payment to the tune of 97.92 billion. Subsequently, monthly payments in advance of a period of 5 years, being 60 months, at the rate of 4.08 billion naira.
This House hereby approve that the irrevocable standing payment order in favor of Zoom Nigeria Limited. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those against nay, aye.
The Speaker of the House, however, directed the majority leader of the House to forward the approved concession to the Lagos State Governor while using the opportunity to usher Muslims into the week of Ramadan.
It is also an opportunity to remind honorable members that Iftar will also commence as we used to have it in every day in the House of Assembly at the Pavilion.
In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to national unity, economic growth and poverty reduction during his official visit to Yola in Adamawa State. Speaking after commissioning key projects, the president praised Governor Amadou Fintiri for investments in education, infrastructure and human capital development, describing them as critical tools in the fight against poverty, noting that modern schools, road networks and judicial facilities inaugurated during the visit would improve mobility, stimulate commerce and create new economic opportunities for residents.
We appreciate wholeheartedly the privilege of having you here today to commission a few of our projects, which include the Yola Model School, which is one of the 21 model schools built across the 21 local government areas of the state. This project cost us 24.8 billion naira. The 8-lane garage expanded Galadima Aminu Way with overhead bridge, underpass and roundabout, and the dualized Gimba Road, which are all reinforced with concrete storm water drains on both sides, which equally cost us 15.6 billion naira. The expanded and remodeled State High Court Complex A and B cost us 5.5 billion naira.
I must salute your infrastructure vision as integral economic growth. I will always think about today to say a road connects the people to markets, farmers to buyers, and community to opportunities. The 8-lane road and underpass we just commissioned today will not only improve traffic flow within the metropolis, but also unlock the new economic opportunities and enhance safety and attract private investment.
And one of our top stories tonight, a drone attack on a crowded market in central Sudan has killed at least 28 civilians, including women and children, as the army and paramilitary rapid support forces escalate their 3-year war. Rights group Emergency Lawyers reported Monday that the strike hit Al Safia market near Sodari town in North Kordofan, a key front line during peak hours on Sunday. No group claimed responsibility amid intensifying aerial battles. Sodari lies 230 kilometers northwest of El Obeid, which RSF forces aim to encircle, turning the desert trade hub into a deadly flashpoint. Business, sports and entertainment news is up next. Do stay with us.
Talking business now, Nigeria's annual inflation rate slowed slightly to 15.1% in January 2026 from 15.15% in December 2025, marking the 10th consecutive monthly decline. The modest drop comes ahead of the Central Bank of Nigeria's first monetary policy meeting of the year, creating room for possible interest rate adjustments. Food inflation, a major component of overall prices, also eased to 8.89% from 10.84% previously, as measured by the updated Consumer Price Index methodology aimed at better reflecting real-world prices. Policymakers are watching the trend as they weigh next steps in monetary policy. And about the equities market, we see that activities continue to advance as the all-share index rallied 4.37% to 190,262.44 points, with a differential of 4.37% and market capitalization at 122.12 trillion naira. And this was not a cautious climb; it was an aggressive, conviction-driven session with buyers firmly in control. We look at sectoral performance now, with the banking sector that actually surged 4.71%, fueled by heavy demand in Tier 1 stocks as investors piled back into financial heavyweights. Insurance advanced 2.45% right here, a solid supporting move that reinforced the bullish breadth. And oil and gas edged up 4.73% with strong positioning in supply consumer goods, 1.44%. But the real standout is the industrial goods, 7.77%, whooping some, I must say, as Dangote Cement powered ahead, giving the broader rally extra force. And that's it on business. I am Lekon Omabanjo.
Delta State formally received the Touch of Unity for the second Niger Delta Games earlier today, reaffirming its commitment to youth empowerment and regional integration through sports. Delta State has completed a rigorous athlete selection for all 16 sports, ensuring top performers represent the state in the games in Benin City from February 20th to the 27th. Governor Sheriff Oberevri was represented by Deputy Governor Sir Monday Onyeme, who described the torch as a symbol of peace, unity, and sustainable development.
Delta State is proud to be associated with this noble project, which has steadily evolved into a credible platform for the discovery and grooming of sporting talents, the encouragement of healthy competition, and the reinforcement of brotherhood among the states of the Niger Delta region. The Niger Delta Games has continued to demonstrate that sport can unite us across boundaries and differences, while opening doors for opportunity for our youth.
The second edition of the Josinho Kids Football League began in Abuja, with 480 young players set to compete over 7 months at the Ace Football Pitch in Gwarimpa. The tournament opened with a ceremonial kickoff, and action across 5 age categories saw Eagles Wings Football Academy dominate the Under-7 and Under-9 divisions, while Young Stars FC claimed narrow wins in the Under-11 and Under-13 contests. The opening ceremony was also attended by Super Eagles 2013 AFCON winner Nosa Igebo, who praised the budding talent on display.
You have to get the right development, and starting from this age, I think it's good for the kids, to develop into the next stage. You have to also pass through this stage. And, I want to commend the organizers, for bringing this massive crowd together. And I think we should see more of this. Listening to me, they just have to keep going, man. Like I said before, first of all, football is all about passion. And for me, seeing this crowd, it means that passion brought them here. So for me, it's for them to keep the passion, you understand. Continue to work, continue to...
And that's all on Sports News tonight. I am Okwe Oluwa Adebari. Entertainment is next with Sam Dandy.
Now to the biggest story in entertainment. Global music platform Billboard has come under some criticism after describing Nigerian Afrobeat star Rema as a one-hit wonder. The ranking ranked the Nigerian rave lord as the only African artist on the list based on his U.S. chart history with his global hit Calm Down featuring Selena Gomez. The description triggered swift backlash from fans, music executives, and cultural commentators who argue the label ignores Rema's wider global success, including multiple Afrobeat chart entries and sold-out international shows. The post placed him among artists with limited sustained chart impact, noting that Calm Down peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. but the young star hasn't returned to the chart since then. Now, in the midst of all this controversy, his album Raven Roses has now become the longest charting African album on Billboard. So, one hit or not, a hit is a hit. American rapper J. Cole has returned to the top of the charts. Now, he is, well, his long-awaited album, The Fall Off, debuted at #1 on Billboard's 200. The project recorded one of the strongest first-week performances for a hip-hop album in nearly a year. According to Billboard, the double album opened with approximately 280,000 equivalent album units sold, including strong streaming and sales figures. Now, this marks J. Cole's 7th #1 album in the United States. Now, this, of course, reinforces his status as one of the most consistent commercial forces in modern rap. Now, with this release, of course, of Fallout, some are asking the question if he's coming towards a closer chapter in his career. I got to be honest, it's 2026 and we're already getting a lot of great music. Hoping to see more records, of course, being hit this year. Those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
Finally tonight, commuters are left stranded at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway following an automobile accident on the popular Otedola Bridge. The gridlock is said to have extended beyond Kara Bridge.